Today we are talking about Street Trash, the new one, the remake that just popped up on Screambox. It is, of course, a remake of the classic 1987 Melt movie, probably the most popular Melt movie ever, which is kind of ironic because it has the least amount of melting going on. But there is a reason it's probably the most popular, and it's because it's the most insane of the Melt movies. It's a very specific type of low budget trash. It has like a trauma quality that probably isn't for everybody. It's lewd and excessive. It's like super chaotic. There's so much shit going on randomly. Like there are whole ass scenes dedicated to stuff like a dude stuffing raw meat down his pants in a grocery store and a group of people playing hot potato with a recently severed penis. And it's hard to tell what the main plot even is sometimes because there's so much absurd shit going on. But that's kind of part of its charm. Also, the movie just has like good characters that you actually like. And yeah, it's like immature and grimy, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. The plot of it, among many other things, is that basically a bad batch of cheap liquor called Tenafly Viper is turning the homeless community into puddles of multicolored goo. And so yeah, I'm not a big remake guy, but I think a movie like that is a perfect candidate for a remake. There's so many directions you could go with it. You could kind of rectify its lack of melting with modern effects and make a lot of cool shit. But also, I don't think just anybody could do it because it's a very like anti-mainstream kind of movie. It's like from the perspective of the homeless people, which I've always thought was kind of unique. Usually they would be like the bad element in the movie or something like that. But this is from their perspective, and it kind of puts you in a very specific point of view that could easily be like mistreated. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it would take a very specific kind of director or filmmaker, whatever, to remake Street Trash the right way, in my opinion. And they picked Ryan Krueger, and I think that was a perfect fit. He's the guy who made Fried Berry, which is another movie I highly recommend if you haven't seen it, because it is awesome.
Say, ah!
And yeah, they just couldn't have picked a better guy. Spoiler for the review, I like this movie a lot. We're in the same universe as the first movie. This is actually more of a sequel than a remake, which is another plus for me. I would much rather get a sequel. And you know, I guess the thing nowadays is to make a sequel and just name it the same as the first one to make it seem like a remake. I guess that sells better or whatever, which that's fine, whatever. But like, yeah, in the Street Trash universe at this point in the story, things have gotten pretty rough. It's actually not too far from reality though. And we're with a group of homeless people who have managed to hold on to their humanity and dignity, whatever, in a world that is pretty barren of that. You know, I mean, it's a dystopia. And they're facing two conflicts. One is a gang led by somebody called the Rat King. And ironically, they're actually a problem caused by the second conflict, which is like the mayor. He's like a corporate dictator who is basically dosing homeless people with Tenafly Viper, the liquor from the first movie, to solve the unemployment rate, basically. But yeah, we're with a gang of people living in that world. This movie has the most colorful characters of any movie I've seen recently anyway. The best character is probably 2-Bit, who is played by the guy who played Fried Berry, and he is basically a drug-addled hobo who talks to his imaginary friend Sockle, who nobody else can see because he's a drug-induced manifestation, basically. But also shout out to Chef, who's a great character. The like mysterious stranger drug dealer named Society, and a guy named Offley, who is off screen the entire time. We only get his POV perspective anytime they like address him. And yeah, just like a shitload of great characters, and they all set up some great gags, and it's all tied together through the whole thing with like really good dialogue. Like that kind of like witty dialogue that came from the mumblecore era of stuff, like, you know, Clerks and Pulp Fiction and so on. That's a really hard thing to pull off. A lot of people attempt it, a lot of people fail. Ryan Krueger is very good at it, I've noticed. And you get a lot of that, the kind of thing that makes you want to rewatch a movie a lot. This definitely has that going. It's not a perfect movie. There are a lot of what seems like is probably just budgetary limitations that keep some of the scenes from greatness. You know, like they'll use blood splattering across a wall when you'd rather see like some action or something. Quite a few moments like that where you they still did it okay to where you can imagine what happened, I guess, but they just don't show you a lot there. Editing Chris here. I'm just cutting in to say, like, I don't think I was very clear with what I was saying there. And like, there's plenty of gore in the movie. I'm not trying to take away from that. I think the only reason it was a problem that stuck out was because it was in the third act. Some of the stuff you would have liked to seen to like send it home kind of seemed like that's where they were making exceptions, and it made the third act seem a little anticlimactic. That's the only reason I even brought it up. But yeah, I just wanted to cut in here and say that because there's plenty of gore. I think the thing that they really worked around was just the fight scenes, and I think the third act could have used them to really round it out. But yeah, that's it. It's something that would have been nice to see, but honestly, everything else was so good, like with all the characters, like the great world building because of the characters and their chemistry together and all of the gags that it all leads to, the ridiculous conversations, all that kind of carries it and makes it a fun movie to watch. And also, a big focus on the special effects were dedicated to melts, people melting, which, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of ironically something that is a little bit underdone in the original Street Trash. So yeah, this kind of rectifies that. It puts a lot of melting people on the screen. They're all awesome. They've just got neon slime shooting out of every orifice. Their faces are falling off. Their guts are spilling out. It's insane. It's good shit. It's all done practically and it's all beautiful. Just what I would have wanted. It's disgusting. But yeah, I'll give this one 3 stars. Easy. I think if the complaint I just hadn't have been there, it would have easily been a 4-star. It's a high 3 though. This is like my kind of shit. It's like a wet, grimy, neon-soaked, dystopian setting. Kind of like Nukem High, RoboCop, that kind of shit. With loud, colorful visuals and memorable characters. And also, this movie has like a very poignant message hidden underneath all of the crazy shit, you know? And it's the classic kind of message. It's not the modern, like, internet, like, everybody's squabbling over bullshit kind of message that you get in movies that just piss off one side or the other. This is like the kind of message you used to get with stuff like RoboCop and They Live, like an actual problem that concerns everybody. And it's like one that you don't get much anymore. It's one people seem not to focus on as much anymore, but it's a really important message to get back to. Because I mean, honestly, people forced into a social class where they squabble back and forth and don't notice the real problem. Stop me if that sounds too familiar, you know what I'm saying? And Ryan Krueger seems like he's good at that kind of stuff. He's starting to form like a connection in my mind with Joe Bigos, who is like my favorite working director. They're both really good at making movies that feel like those old movies that I love. Like, again, RoboCop and Nukem High, stuff like that. Instead of feeling like people trying to pay homage to them. I mean, we get a ton of that these days, right? And it always, I mean, they can be fun to watch, but it always feels like a modern movie with the modern stank on it that is trying to be retro or something. But these guys just make good movies that have that same energy and vibe and charm from the like ambitious over the top concepts and a focus on like characters you can kind of latch onto to pull you into the movie and stuff. And both these guys are putting movies out, this one included, that will sincerely probably get thrown on a lot in my house right alongside stuff like, again, RoboCop, Nukem High, stuff that I just like rewatch all the time, Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that. And I think that's a pretty high honor because that's hard these days. There are a lot of movies that come out that I might like, but I know in the back of my head that there's like a pretty good chance I might never watch it again, even though it was fine. And these movies kind of pull me in. Again, they're right up my alley. I like that, like the whole vibe this movie has going on. That's my shit. But yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of the original, I'm very touchy about remakes, and I saw no problems. They did a great job. If Ryan Krueger keeps putting out movies like this, he's gonna go up to the top of my list of like current directors. This is the kind of stuff I want to see more of. Go support the movie any way you can so that weird shit like this will keep getting made and we'll have stuff to watch. I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And until next time.
Oh.